Weathered by sun and centuries, the blithe intaglios lie carved into the silent heart of California's Colorado desert. Vast, ancient figures stretching across the land, their lines faded but unbroken. The stones that shaped them have long since settled into the earth, suggesting not centuries, but thousands of years of endurance. If this is true, these geoglyphs may be among the oldest human-made monuments in North America, standing as distant cousins to the pyramids of Egypt and the temples of Mesopotamia. Yet what confounds researchers most is not their precision or beauty, but their solitude. Around them, there are no signs of life, no tools, no pottery, no settlements, no graves, nothing to hint at the hands that made them. The immense figures seem to rise from nowhere and belong to no one, as though their creators emerged from the desert, etched their message into the earth, and vanished back into myth. This emptiness has led some to believe that the blithe intaglios do not merely belong to an unknown time, but to a forgotten chapter of human history, a world that existed before the memory of civilization itself. Over the decades, countless theories have tried to explain their origins, yet every answer only deepens the mystery. The most accepted view credits the Mojave or Quechan, Yuma peoples, who may have created the intaglios roughly 900 to 1,000 years ago. In their traditions, the enormous human shapes are believed to represent Mutavilla, the creator god who molded the world and taught humankind how to live in harmony with it. From this perspective, the figures were sacred offerings, ritual effigies carved into the land to honor divine forces or mark ceremonial grounds. But even this explanation struggles against the evidence. How could these exposed earthworks remain so perfectly preserved for nearly a millennium under the punishing desert sun and ceaseless wind? By all logic, they should have eroded to nothing long ago. And yet they remain, clear, balanced, defiant, as if protected by time itself. A bolder theory proposes that the intaglios were not made by known tribes at all, but by a lost civilization that thrived long before the end of the last ice age. In this view, the figures are not religious symbols, but astronomical markers or energy maps, part of a vast prehistoric network connecting sacred sites across the globe. From the Nazca Lines of Peru to the spirals of Chaco Canyon in New Mexico, to the ancient stone alignments of Australia. Perhaps, some suggest, these geoglyphs formed a kind of planetary language, a system of communication between distant peoples who shared a common vision of the cosmos. Then there is the most speculative and captivating idea, that the blithe intaglios were designed as messages to the sky. From ground level, their shapes are nearly invisible. Only from above can their full forms be understood. Could it be that their makers believed that divine beings or visitors from the heavens would one day gaze upon them? Perhaps these immense figures were prayers written in the language of the earth, a desperate or devoted attempt to speak to the stars. Whatever their meaning, the desert itself has been their guardian. The Colorado desert's stillness, its arid air, scarce rainfall and unhurried winds, has created a natural sanctuary where even time seems reluctant to move. Geologists call this landscape a time trap, a place where erosion slows to a whisper, where the past lingers so long it almost merges with the present. And in that suspended silence, the intaglios endure. Today, they are protected by fences and watchful caretakers, studied by archaeologists, and observed from above by drones and satellites. Yet even with modern technology, LiDAR scans, infrared imaging, geological surveys, their true age and purpose remain out of reach. No one knows who carved them, how long ago they were made, or what they were meant to say. Perhaps they are not simply art, but echoes of humanity's oldest question, our longing to bridge the distance between earth and sky. In Mojave legend, these figures are said to be the footprints of gods, left when divine beings walked the land. To the Quechan people, they are ancestral spirits, guiding souls through the afterlife. Whether myth or memory, these stories share a truth that transcends history. Time does not move in a straight line. It circles endlessly, folding past into present. And so, even in an age when humanity can measure the lifespan of stars and send machines to the edge of other worlds, we still cannot date a handful of carvings beneath our own sun. The blithe intaglios remain, patient and silent, a riddle etched in dust, a reminder that the earth keeps its greatest secrets not to deceive us, but to humble us. Perhaps these figures endure to remind us of what we have forgotten, that we are only a fleeting moment in an eternal story, written by ancient hands beneath a sky that remembers everything. Inside, all conventional explanations begin to fall apart. The Valley Temple does not feel like a place of worship. It feels like something else entirely. Its vast chambers are stark, geometric, and eerily silent, devoid of altars, offerings, inscriptions, or hieroglyphs. No prayers were carved into its walls, no symbols left to honor the dead. Instead, the space is defined by massive red granite pillars and perfectly aligned stone blocks, an architecture of precision rather than piety. It seems less the work of priests and more the creation of engineers. This has led many researchers to question whether the Valley Temple truly served a religious function at all. Some propose that it may have been technological in purpose, perhaps a hydraulic system designed to regulate or channel the Nile's floodwaters, or even a storage complex intended to preserve something vital from destruction. Others suggest it was built to withstand immense pressure, as though its creators foresaw a cataclysmic flood or earthquake that would reshape the land. Its walls, thicker than any other structure in Egypt, suggest not celebration, but survival. If this is true, then the Valley Temple may not have been a house of gods, but a fortress of knowledge, bridging two worlds, one lost to the flood and one reborn in its wake. No hieroglyphs, no relics, no gods, only stone. The silence seems deliberate, as if the builders intended their message to endure beyond language, beyond time. The red granite that lines its walls once shone like fire beneath the Egyptian sun, casting a strange metallic glow throughout the temple's halls. Standing inside, one might feel less in a tomb and more in an ancient machine, dormant but not dead, waiting. Some theorists even suggest that the Valley Temple functioned as an acoustic device, where sound and vibration were used to interact with the physical world, perhaps to generate resonance or energy. It is a theory that straddles the line between myth and science. Yet the structure's uncanny proportions and harmonic geometry continue to fuel speculation. Recent ground-penetrating radar studies have revealed something even more astonishing. Beneath the Valley Temple lie hidden cavities, echoing chambers that may connect to a deeper network under the Giza Plateau. These tunnels, still unexplored, could hold the key to questions that have haunted archaeology for centuries. Who built the Valley Temple? When and why? Since the 1990s, researchers such as Graham Hancock have proposed that the Valley Temple is not a product of dynastic Egypt at all, but a relic of a lost global civilization, a culture wiped out by catastrophe at the end of the last ice age. In this theory, monuments like Giza, Baalbek, Pumapunku, and Göbekli Tepe are fragments of a vast ancient network built by a people who possessed advanced understanding of astronomy, geometry, and the energetic forces of the earth. From this perspective, the Valley Temple was not constructed for ritual, but as part of a planetary alignment system, a map in stone marking Earth's position in cosmic time. Perhaps these builders sought to leave behind a message or a warning to remind future civilizations that great cycles repeat, and that what once happened could happen again when the heavens return to their ancient alignments. Whether a place of energy, a refuge from disaster, or a monument to forgotten science, the Valley Temple remains one of Egypt's most profound enigmas. It speaks not through inscriptions or myth, but through geometry, silence, and endurance. And maybe that was always its purpose, to remind us that every civilization, no matter how mighty, has limits. Stone and curiosity may be the only things that outlast time itself. beneath the crowded streets of modern Mexico City, under layers of colonial foundations and centuries of forgotten dust, another mystery waits. Deep below the Templo Mayor, the great pyramid that once stood at the heart of Tenochtitlan, the Aztec capital, archaeologists have uncovered a tomb unlike any ever found in Mesoamerica, the tomb of the Eagle Warriors. This hidden chamber is more than a burial site. It is a symbolic gateway between life, death, and divinity, a place where warriors who died in battle were believed to rise again with the sun. If the Valley Temple might preserve a message from a forgotten age, the tomb of the Eagle Warriors preserves a faith that life itself could transcend death. And perhaps buried beneath these sacred stones, the Aztecs guarded not just their dead, but the secret of resurrection, the belief that even in silence and darkness, the sun would rise again. For archaeologists, discovering a hidden tomb beneath the Templo Mayor was like finding a heartbeat beneath the stones of a civilization long thought silent. For decades, the sacred pyramid at the heart of ancient Tenochtitlan had been excavated, mapped, and studied in meticulous detail. Its altars, offerings, and sacrificial platforms were well documented. No one expected that anything so profound could remain undiscovered. Yet when teams equipped with ground-penetrating radar and precision excavation tools probed deeper than anyone had dared before, they encountered a sealed chamber, walled off by layers of volcanic rock, placed with deliberate care as if to shield it from both time and trespassers. What they uncovered inside would transform everything we thought we knew about Aztec death, faith, and heroism. The chamber, soon named the Tomb of the Eagle Warriors, was unlike any burial site ever found in Mesoamerica. Its construction was breathtakingly deliberate. Narrow corridors funneled explorers into a central chamber whose stuccoed walls were painted with visions of soaring eagles, blazing suns, and rivers of crimson flowing into the underworld. Every detail served a cosmic purpose. The tomb was aligned precisely to the east, so that at dawn on the equinox, the first rays of sunlight would pierce through the temple above and strike the chamber's heart, a design meant to ensure that the fallen warriors would rise again with the sun, reborn as divine companions of Huitzilopochtli, the god of war and solar fire. Inside lay the remains of several individuals, but they were not arranged in peaceful repose. Their bones told stories of struggle and ritual transformation. Some were buried with obsidian blades and feathered shields, poised as if still in battle. Others bore unmistakable signs of sacrifice, pierced skulls, opened rib cages, severed limbs, frozen in the moment between death and transcendence. It was as though the tomb captured the instant a mortal became immortal, when a warrior's heart was torn from his body to join the eternal sun. What puzzled researchers most was the location of this tomb. It lay outside the central ceremonial axis of the Templo Mayor, deliberately hidden beneath secondary platforms, far from the grand public altars where sacrifices were made. To reach it, archaeologists had to pass through layers of symbolic protection, piled stones, volcanic glass, hardened clay, each placed with intention, as if to seal not just the tomb, but the power within it. Why would such a sacred resting place be concealed rather than celebrated? One theory proposes that it was the final resting place of the emperor's elite guard, warriors whose deaths were considered too holy for public ceremony. Another suggests it was an initiation chamber, a site where chosen warriors enacted their own symbolic deaths to achieve rebirth as celestial beings. A third, more esoteric idea focuses on the tomb's precise celestial alignment. During the equinox, sunlight filters through a narrow slit in the temple above and illuminates a carved obsidian disc found within the chamber, a depiction of an eagle devouring the heart of a serpent. This image mirrors the Aztec creation myth, the divine vision that led their ancestors to found Tenochtitlan itself. Could the tomb have been built as a cosmic microcosm, a miniature recreation of the Aztec universe's birth? The dual nature of the Templo Mayor deepens this possibility. The pyramid's summit once held two shrines, one to Tlaloc, god of rain and fertility, and one to Huitzilopochtli, god of war and the sun. Together, they symbolize the eternal balance of creation and destruction. If the temple above embodied the visible world, the hidden tomb below may have represented its spiritual foundation, the unseen core sustaining heaven and earth. Beneath the place where hearts were offered in sacrifice, the hearts of the empire's greatest warriors lay at rest, forever united with the sun they died to feed. At the entrance to the chamber, archaeologists found small ceramic figurines, shells and obsidian knives, ritual objects used to seal sacred spaces. These offerings suggest that once the last warrior was interred, priests performed a final rite to close the tomb, locking its energy within the earth. Perhaps that is why it remained untouched for centuries. It was never meant to be found again. Among the most haunting discoveries were a series of half-human, half-eagle sculptures, their faces twisted between ecstasy and agony, as if caught mid-transformation. Feathers merged with flesh, wings unfolded from human shoulders, and eyes seemed to look upward toward a rising sun. These were not mere decorations. They were the embodiment of the Aztec belief in metamorphosis, the sacred passage from mortal to divine. For the Aztecs, to die in battle or sacrifice was not to perish. It was to ascend. The tomb of the eagle. Warriors was not a crypt of the dead, but a gateway of rebirth, where warriors became the very stars that guided the sun. Beneath the bustling modern city of Mexico, in the stillness of that ancient chamber, their story endures, a reminder that even in death, the Aztec spirit still soars on wings of fire, not an ending, but the beginning of a sacred flight. Everything within the tomb of the eagle warriors seems to echo that belief. Even its stone architecture carries hidden meaning. Along the walls, faint carvings of stars and celestial signs appear, tiny constellations etched into volcanic rock, perhaps mirroring the heavens as they looked during the height of the Aztec Empire. Elsewhere, intricate geometric patterns align with the solar calendar, suggesting that the tomb was more than a burial site. It was also an astronomical observatory, one that functioned not from the sky, but from beneath the earth. The symbolism is profound. While the Templo Mayor above stretched toward the heavens, this secret chamber below reached into the underworld, completing the Aztec cosmic trinity, sky, earth, and Mictlan, the realm of the dead. Fire, too, played a vital role. Traces of charred bones and scorched offerings reveal that ritual flames once burned inside the chamber. In Aztec cosmology, fire was the divine bridge between worlds, the element of transformation. To burn an offering was to release its essence to the gods. The flames that once danced within these walls may have been seen as the breath of the sun itself, carrying the souls of fallen warriors upward into the eternal dawn. Yet the tomb's mysteries extend beyond the spiritual. There is the question of its engineering, how the Aztecs built such an intricate and resilient structure directly beneath their holiest temple without weakening it. The construction reveals extraordinary skill, interlocking layers of volcanic stone, perfectly arranged to withstand both weight and earthquakes. Modern engineers studying the site have called it a masterpiece of subterranean design, rivaling the precision of the Incas' mountain fortresses in the Andes. And still, one question lingers: who ordered it built? No inscriptions name a ruler or high priest. Clues in the artwork suggest it may date to the reign of Moctezuma I, whose era marked the height of Aztec conquest and expansion. Others point to Ahuitzotl, known for his grand religious reforms and obsession with celestial symbolism. Without Written records, the tomb's true patron, whether emperor, priest, or an unknown brotherhood of warriors, remains a secret sealed beneath stone. What scholars do agree upon is its purpose. It was meant to be hidden, protected, and eternal. The Aztecs may have believed that disturbing it could unbalance the world, that within those walls lay not only the bones of heroes, but the spiritual mechanism that kept the sun itself alive. In that sense, the tomb of the Eagle warriors was not merely a memorial. It was a cosmic engine, a buried heart feeding divine energy to the empire above. Beneath the ruins of the Templo Mayor, under the pulse of modern Mexico City, this hidden tomb still lies sealed in darkness. Within it rest the warriors who gave their hearts to the sun, guardians of a vanished empire whose spirit still burns below the earth, waiting for the dawn of its next awakening. And far across the sea, another world lies sleeping beneath the waves. Just off the southern coast of Greece, under the shimmering turquoise waters of the Laconia Gulf, rests a ghost city older than myth itself. The seafloor there is traced with perfect streets, stone walls, and the foundations of homes where people once lived, traded, and dreamed, now silent and submerged. This is Pavlopetri, a city swallowed by the sea more than 5,000 years ago. Long before Atlantis was ever imagined, this real place thrived and vanished. Today it sleeps beneath the tides, half buried in sand and salt, daring us to uncover what truly happened when the sea claimed it forever. When divers first discovered Pavlopetri in 1967, they could hardly believe what they saw. Just a few meters below the surface stretched an entire city. Streets, squares, houses, tombs, and even a drainage system, astonishingly preserved in the still waters of the Mediterranean. Unlike scattered ruins elsewhere, Pavlopetri was no fragment. It was complete, frozen in time, untouched for over 50 centuries. Archaeologists determined that the city was built around 3000 BCE at the dawn of the Bronze Age, making it the oldest known underwater city in the world. As old as, perhaps even older than, the Minoan civilization of Crete, the city of Pavlopetri stands as a silent testament to humanity's first flirtation with urban life and maritime power. With its scale and sophistication, it was clearly far more than a humble fishing village. This was a thriving Bronze Age metropolis, where people understood architecture, trade, and governance long before such ideas took root elsewhere in Europe. Modern sonar scans reveal a remarkable level of planning. Parallel streets, rectangular, housing blocks, and even an underground drainage system, features more advanced than those found in many medieval towns thousands of years later. Some homes had multiple rooms, courtyards, and paved floors, evidence of comfort and social hierarchy. Their inhabitants were not simple farmers, but likely merchants, artisans, and nobles, part of an early class that thrived on the wealth of sea trade. Fragments of Minoan and Mycenaean pottery uncovered at the site confirm that Pavlopetri was deeply entwined with the great seafaring cultures of the ancient Mediterranean. Its merchants traded olive oil, wine, copper, and textiles between the civilizations of the Aegean, Egypt, and Anatolia. The city's position near the southern Peloponnesian coast made it a natural crossroads of commerce, a maritime hub connecting east and west in a golden age of trade that predated recorded history. But one question haunts every diver and archaeologist who has descended into those turquoise waters. How could an entire city vanish beneath the sea and remain so perfectly preserved? The most widely accepted explanation points to the restless geology of the region. The Laconian Gulf lies at the edge of the Aegean microplate, where the African and Eurasian tectonic plates grind endlessly against one another. Over thousands of years, this slow-motion collision has warped the land, lifting some coasts and sinking others. Geological surveys show that the seabed around Pavlopetri has subsided by roughly 3 to 4 meters since antiquity, just enough to drown the city beneath rising waters. Perhaps one violent earthquake or a series of tremors tilted the ground, allowing the sea to pour in and swallow the streets that once rang with voices. Yet earthquakes alone might not tell the full story. Around 1600 BCE, the cataclysmic eruption of Thera, modern-day Santorini, devastated the entire Aegean world. The explosion shattered the island, darkened the skies, and unleashed a chain of tsunamis up to 30 meters high. Pavlopetri lay directly in their path. One can almost imagine that night, the sea pulling back in eerie silence, then returning as a wall of black water that tore through homes and temples in a single, merciless instant. A city that had thrived for centuries may have been obliterated in one night of fire and flood, its ruins buried beneath layers of sand and silt. But there is another, quieter theory. Some scientists believe Pavlopetri was not destroyed in violence at all, but simply drowned by time. As the last ice age ended and glaciers melted, global sea levels rose steadily. Year by year, the shoreline crept closer, fields turned to marsh, courtyards filled with salt water. Eventually, the people must have packed their belongings and sailed away, watching their cities sink inch by inch, a slow, sorrowful surrender to the sea, whatever the cause. What astonishes researchers most is the state of preservation. Despite millennia underwater, there are no signs of fire, warfare, or volcanic debris, only the serene decay of stone. The sea, which so often destroys, has instead become Pavlopetri's guardian. The region's calm, mineral-rich waters have protected its streets from erosion, freezing the city in a state of suspended time. In 2009, a groundbreaking expedition by the University of Nottingham and UNESCO mapped the city in unprecedented detail, using diving robots, laser scanning, and 3D modeling. The data revealed 15 buildings, 12 streets, 2 cemeteries, and traces of an ancient harbor, even grooves in stone where ships once docked. Every wall, every pottery shard tells a story of a once vibrant world now encased in silence. Perhaps in its final days, the people of Pavlopetri sensed what was coming: the trembling of the ground, the creeping tide, the strange haze over the horizon. And then, one night, the sea rose up and took everything. The next morning, there was only stillness. The city of Pavlopetri, alive for centuries, vanished without a cry, its houses never rebuilt, its name forgotten. And yet, beneath the tranquil waves, its streets still endure, whispering the memory of a civilization swallowed but not erased by time. Its name was erased, but its story endured in whispers. Some scholars have even dared to compare Pavlopetri to the legendary Atlantis, described by Plato. Of course, it lacks the grandeur of that mythical empire, yet the parallels are haunting. A prosperous coastal city, swallowed suddenly by the sea, forgotten for millennia, and then rediscovered by chance. Could Pavlopetri be the faint echo of the real event that inspired the Atlantis myth, a memory passed down through generations, transformed by time into legend? Today, Pavlopetri still rests beneath the calm, shallow waters of the Laconian Gulf, only a few dozen meters from the shore. The sea glides gently over crumbled walls and moss-covered stones, blurring the boundary between past and present. If you dive there, you can still walk its ancient streets, your fingers brushing against the floors of homes built 5,000 years ago. Everything remains where it once stood, silent, sunlit, and timeless. Archaeologists continue to map the city with extraordinary precision. Using 3D scanning and digital modeling, they are rebuilding Pavlopetri in virtual form, allowing the world to explore this Bronze Age metropolis without ever submerging beneath the sea. Yet for all the advances in technology, the true cause of its submersion remains unknown. Perhaps it was an earthquake, perhaps a tsunami, or perhaps the slow, imperceptible rise of the sea, a centuries-long drowning that no one could stop. Whatever the cause, Pavlopetri endures as a warning carved into the seafloor, a reminder that every civilization, no matter how advanced or magnificent, stands at the mercy of the earth and sea. One wave, one tremor, one forgotten moment, and all that we build can vanish into silence. As the setting sun paints the water gold, one cannot help but wonder, was Pavlopetri merely a drowned city, or a message across time, whispering that no civilization is truly immortal? Perhaps the greatest stories of humanity are not the ones we write, but the ones that sleep beneath the waves, waiting to be rediscovered. Long before the myth of Atlantis was ever told, another real city stood upon the edge of the Aegean, Akrotiri, vibrant, artistic, and alive with color. Its walls glowed with murals of flowers, sailors, and festivals, its streets filled with the laughter of children and the rhythm of trade. Then in a single moment it vanished, buried beneath a mountain of volcanic ash on the island of Santorini. For more than 3,600 years, Akrotiri slept in silence, perfectly preserved beneath the hardened ash. When archaeologists finally uncovered it in the 20th century, they found not ruins, but a city frozen in time, multi-story buildings, bright frescoes, and pottery untouched by decay. They called it the Pompeii of the Aegean. Yet Akrotiri is older, more mysterious, and far more haunting. Because unlike Pompeii, there were no bodies, no treasures, no signs of panic, only an almost sacred stillness, as though the inhabitants had calmly walked away before the world collapsed. Archaeologists now believe Akrotiri flourished around 1600 BCE, during the height of the Minoan civilization, one of the most sophisticated cultures in the ancient world. The city was a masterpiece of early urban design, stone-paved streets, multi-level homes, balconies, and even a dual plumbing system for fresh and waste water. Such engineering would not appear again in Europe for thousands of years. Its frescoes tell of a people who lived in harmony with beauty and the sea. Women carrying lilies, children boxing, ships gliding across blue waves, and birds soaring over crimson cliffs, images of a world full of grace and vitality. There were no fortresses, no weapons, no signs of conquest. Akrotiri seemed to represent a civilization of peace and refinement, bound to the rhythms of nature and the sea. Then, without warning, the volcano of Thera erupted. It was one of the most violent explosions in Earth's history, hundreds of times more powerful than Krakatoa. Fire and ash consumed the sky. The sun vanished behind a wall of smoke. The island itself tore apart, its center collapsing into the sea and unleashing monstrous tsunamis that swept across the Aegean, striking Crete, Cyprus, and the coasts of Anatolia. In that chaos, Akrotiri disappeared. When it was finally rediscovered more than 3 millennia later, its silence was absolute. Beneath 40 meters of ash, archaeologists uncovered frescoed walls, still brilliant with color. Ceramic jars still upright, even furniture in place, as though the inhabitants had left moments before disaster struck. But the mystery lingers. Where did they go? Did the people of Akrotiri escape in time, sailing away to new lands before the eruption? Or did something stranger happen, something we have yet to understand? Whatever the truth, Akrotiri remains a ghost of perfection, a vision of a world preserved at the very edge of annihilation. Proof that beauty can outlast even the fire of the earth itself. Everything in Akrotiri remained exactly as it had been left. The frescoes still glowed with brilliant color. The stone streets still wound toward the ancient square. It was a world paused mid-breath, as if someone had pressed pause on history itself. Yet within that stillness arose a chilling question. Where were the people? After decades of excavation and thousands of tons of ash removed, archaeologists found no human remains. No animals, no signs of struggle or panic. Unlike Pompeii, there were no bodies frozen in agony, no clasped hands or fleeing shadows. Akrotiri was utterly empty. Stranger still, the city's homes contained no valuables or treasures. The rooms were clean, the pottery neatly stacked, the doors still open, as though the inhabitants had calmly tidied their homes before departing forever. This eerie order has led researchers to believe that the people of Akrotiri knew what was coming. Perhaps a series of tremors shook the island before the great eruption. Cracked walls, collapsing roofs, the earth rumbling beneath their feet. The islanders, attuned to their volcano's moods, must have sensed the catastrophe building. They gathered their belongings, boarded their ships, and fled the island. But where did they go? No written records, no successor settlements, and no trace of their migration have ever been found. The people of Akrotiri simply vanished from history, leaving behind a city intact yet lifeless, a ghost without its soul. This disappearance has inspired some of archaeology's most haunting theories. Many scholars suggest that the people escaped to Crete, the heart of the Minoan world, just before the final eruption. Trade between the two islands was strong, and an evacuation was possible. Yet fate was cruel. The same eruption that buried Akrotiri also unleashed tsunamis up to 15 meters high, devastating Minoan ports and perhaps bringing about the civilization's collapse. Others look farther south, toward Egypt. Akrotiri's murals depict monkeys, papyrus, and exotic plants that never grew in the Aegean, suggesting deep connections with Africa. Some researchers imagine its refugees sailing across the Mediterranean, finding sanctuary along the Nile, where their culture quietly merged with others, their memory preserved only in fragments of art and myth. And then there is the boldest theory of all, that Akrotiri was Atlantis itself. Plato's tale of a brilliant island civilization destroyed in a single day and night mirrors Santorini's circular caldera and its cataclysmic end. A flourishing society, advanced beyond its age, suddenly lost beneath the sea. The parallels are uncanny. While proof remains elusive, the resemblance keeps the legend alive. Thus, Akrotiri stands suspended between history and myth, a bridge between what we know and what we can only imagine. Its people are gone, but their story still whispers through the ash. Perhaps the most haunting aspect of Akrotiri is not what archaeologists found, but what they didn't: the human presence itself. It is not death that chills the soul here, but perfection, a city still warm with life yet utterly devoid of it. Each wall, each room seems to echo faintly with laughter, footsteps, and children's voices, now buried under a silence as heavy as stone. When the archaeologists' lights sweep across those ancient frescoes, reds, blues, and golds, as vivid as the day they were painted, one feels as though looking through a window in time, into a moment that never ended. The people escaped, but their world remains, preserved in dust and fire. Akrotiri is more than a ruin. It is a warning written by the earth itself, a reminder that even the most radiant civilization can vanish in an instant. Today, its empty houses and unbroken murals whisper of a people who left and never returned. No bodies, no cries, only silence. And somewhere within the archives of Istanbul's Topkapi Palace, a different mystery sleeps, a torn piece of parchment that may hold echoes of the same vanished world. Drawn in 1513 by an Ottoman admiral named Piri Reis, only 1/3 of his map survives. Yet that single fragment has ignited one of the greatest cartographic enigmas in human history. For more than 5 centuries, scholars, explorers, and skeptics have debated what it truly reveals. Was the Piri Reis map simply the work of a gifted Renaissance navigator, or something far older? A surviving fragment of a knowledge that predates civilization itself? When modern scientists examined the surviving section of the map in the 20th century, their astonishment was immediate. The coastlines of South America and West Africa were rendered with a precision far beyond the navigational abilities of the early 1500s. Even more shocking was a landmass drawn at the bottom of the map, and the unmistakable outline that appeared to match Antarctica, but not as we know it today. The continent was shown without its ice cap, its rocky coastline clearly delineated, a shape visible only through modern satellite and radar imaging capable of penetrating miles of ice. How could a 16th century admiral have known the true form of a continent buried under ice for thousands of years? If Peri Reis truly copied from an older map, who created the original? Was it the work of some forgotten civilization, or merely an extraordinary coincidence? Peri Reis himself left a cryptic clue. In neat Ottoman script along the map's margins, he wrote, "I have compiled it from about 20 charts and 8 mappae mundi drawn in the days of Alexander, and from Portuguese maps of India and China, and also from a map of Columbus." He never claimed the discoveries as his own. Instead, he assembled fragments from older sources, some already ancient even in his time. Those words transformed the Peri Reis map from a curiosity into a window into deep antiquity. Historians studying the geometry of the chart soon noticed something extraordinary. Despite being drawn from multiple sources, the coastlines followed a consistent global projection, suggesting they were all copied from a single, mathematically precise world map. But such projection methods, requiring spherical trigonometry and accurate longitude, were not developed until the 18th century. This revelation inspired a radical hypothesis that Peri Reis had unknowingly preserved the final echo of an ancient world-mapping tradition, unborn long before recorded history. Who then could have created such a map? Some point to the Library of Alexandria, the fabled storehouse of all ancient knowledge destroyed in waves of conquest. Others credit the Greek geographers of the Ptolemaic era, who may have inherited star charts and sea routes from older, now forgotten navigators. But there are those who whisper of something older still, a prehistoric civilization that existed before the end of the last ice age, when sea levels were lower, coastlines different, and Antarctica perhaps free of ice. In the 1960s, historian Charles Hapgood reignited the debate. After years of analysis, he concluded that the Peri Reis map contained data derived from accurate spherical geometry, impossible for 16th century cartographers. He argued that multiple ancient maps, the Orontius Phaneus Boachi and Dulcet Portolan charts among them, shared the same mysterious projection, as though each had been copied from a single master source of global origin. Hapgood called this pattern the ancient global map tradition. If his theory is correct, then the cartographers of Egypt, Greece, Arabia, and China may all have inherited fragments of one primordial map, a chart that once depicted the entire Earth before the rise of known civilizations. The most haunting feature of the Peri Reis chart lies at its southern edge. There below South America runs a continuous coastline, corresponding precisely to Queen Maud Land, a region of Antarctica now buried beneath 2 miles of ice. Modern radar imaging has confirmed that this section's subglacial topography matches the map's contours with uncanny accuracy. Geological studies further reveal that this area was ice-free at least 6,000 years ago, long before any known civilization possessed seafaring technology or cartographic science. If the Peri Reis map truly depicts this ancient landscape, it must have been based on surveys far older than recorded history, perhaps made when humans, according to mainstream archaeology, were still hunter-gatherers. The implications are staggering. Someone, somewhere, knew the true shape of the Earth's southern continents thousands of years before modern science. Who could they have been? Some researchers look to prehistoric mariners, the Proto-Egyptians, the Phoenicians, or the enigmatic sea peoples who might have explored the far reaches of the ancient oceans. Others turn to myth, recalling Plato's tale of Atlantis, a great maritime civilization destroyed by floods. They imagine that before its fall, its navigators charted the world. Their maps later rediscovered by scholars of Greece, Egypt, and finally by Peri Reis himself. Whatever the truth, the 1513 map remains one of the most tantalizing enigmas in human history, a fragile parchment that seems to whisper of a forgotten age of global knowledge, when the world was smaller, the seas wilder, and the limits of human understanding stretched far beyond the horizon. In this interpretation, the ancient global map pattern within the Peri Reis chart is not coincidence but signature, a cartographic fingerprint left by a civilization long erased by the sea. Each later culture that copied fragments of those maps unknowingly preserved traces of their lost precision. Accurate latitudes, curvature corrections, and proportional scaling between continents that no medieval mariner could have achieved alone. Over centuries, these fragments passed from Egyptian scribes to Greek scholars, from Arab geographers to European explorers, each copying, translating, and redrawing until the original design was almost unrecognizable. By the time the Ottoman admiral pieced his chart together in 1513, only the faint outline of that primordial knowledge remained, like a constellation glimpsed through clouds. Modern historians, of course, offer a more cautious view. They argue that the Piri Reis map's seeming accuracy is a product of chance and overinterpretation. The section thought to depict Antarctica, they say, might actually represent the southern coast of South America, its contours stretched and distorted by projection errors. Piri Reis, a skilled but limited compiler, likely stitched together Portuguese and Arabic portolan charts, each regionally precise but globally inconsistent. Yet this explanation fails to account for the geometric coherence that runs through the chart. Even if accidental, its alignment with a modern spherical Earth remains hauntingly exact. It is as though, within a mosaic of fragments, the pattern of a perfect circle still shines through. The mystery of the Piri Reis map endures because it touches something deeper than geography, a universal unease that we may have forgotten who we once were. Every civilization builds upon the ruins of another. Every chart is a palimpsest of older knowledge. Whether the ancient global pattern originated from a lost prehistoric survey or from the recurring genius of humankind, it reveals a truth about us. The unbroken human impulse to measure, to map, to understand the world as a whole. Perhaps that is the real secret hidden in the faded ink, not proof of Atlantis or an impossible technology, but proof that the dream of global knowledge predates history itself. The ancient maps may have crumbled, but their pattern endures in every globe, every satellite image, every explorer who still looks beyond the horizon and wonders. If such a map truly once existed, drawn before ice buried Antarctica, and before history began, who were its creators? Were they early humans far more advanced than we imagine, or heirs to a civilization erased by time? The parchment of Piri Reis does not answer. It only whispers across 5 centuries. Knowledge is never truly lost. It is only forgotten, waiting to be found again. Along the southern banks of the Nile, where the red sands of Nubia meet the burning horizon, ancient temples lie carved into the cliffs. The Nubian rock-cut sanctuaries, silent witnesses to civilizations that thrived thousands of years ago. Yet what truly fascinates archaeologists is not the grandeur visible above ground, but the shadowed labyrinths below, the subterranean chambers where sunlight has not touched for millennia, and where many believe the oldest secrets of humankind still sleep. If these hidden depths truly guard such ancient knowledge, what might lie beneath them? Lost science, a spiritual gateway, or something else entirely? The temples of Soleb, Gebel Barkal, and Wadi Asebua still bear carvings of pharaohs offering to the gods. But when explorers first descended into their underground passages, they realized these were not mere tombs or storerooms. Narrow corridors, cut directly into the bedrock with no formal entrances, plunged dozens of meters below the surface. Some were so tight one could only crawl through them. Others opened into sudden vertical shafts that seemed to channel faint shafts of light from above. The upper temples were unmistakably Egyptian, columns, reliefs, and solar iconography devoted to Ra. Yet the chambers below told another story. On those hidden walls, archaeologists found figures with distinct Nubian features, dark skin, broad foreheads, tightly curled hair, accompanied by symbols unlike any known hieroglyphs. Some markings resembled Meroitic script, the still undeciphered language of the Kushite kingdom. Scholars now believe that within these caverns, Nubian priests merged Egyptian theology with their own older spiritual traditions, creating a secret cult devoted to death, rebirth, and the cosmic energy of the soul. In the 1970s, a joint French-Sudanese expedition exploring the deepest level of the Soleb temple uncovered something astonishing. The walls were not carved entirely from natural sandstone like the rest of the complex. Embedded within them was a dark, metallic-tinged material with weak magnetic properties, utterly foreign to the surrounding rock. Spectral analysis revealed a compound of hematite, magnetite and manganese, minerals not found locally in that part of Nubia. How and why the ancient builders brought them here remains a mystery, but their purpose, some suggest, may not have been purely decorative. The underground chambers may once have functioned as resonant structures, places where sound, light and magnetic energy intertwined, temples not only for worship but for transformation. Whatever their purpose, these subterranean sanctuaries stand as a testament to the ingenuity and mystery of the ancient world. Stone messages from a forgotten past, still waiting in the dark to be understood. Within hundreds of kilometers of the site, no natural deposits of these magnetic stones exist. Their discovery beneath Soleb left scientists puzzled. Why had the ancient Nubians chosen such an exotic material? Where did they find it? And more importantly, why had they carried it so far into the desert? Geologists determined that the minerals could only have come from the distant borderlands near Chad or the western Egyptian desert, more than 500 kilometers away. In an age without wheels or beasts of burden, transporting such heavy stones across endless dunes and scorching winds should have been impossible. Yet there they were, massive blocks, perfectly fitted, polished, and aligned deep within chambers that had never seen natural light. Their placement was too deliberate to be coincidence. Whatever purpose these stones served, the builders clearly possessed a mastery of logistics and engineering, far beyond what history credits them with. A daring hypothesis soon emerged. The stones were not chosen for structure or decoration, but for their energetic and spiritual properties. In ancient symbolism, hematite, the blood-red iron ore, represented the vital essence of the earth, a living bond between the human spirit and the planet's heart. Manganese, used in ritual pigments, was linked to the underworld, a realm of purification and rebirth. When these two materials were combined, they were believed to form a kind of spiritual vessel, a shield protecting the soul while amplifying divine power within sacred space. For this reason, Egyptologists now suggest that the deepest chambers of Soleb and Gebel Barkal may have served as sites of royal apotheosis, rituals where the pharaoh symbolically shed his mortal form to unite with the gods. These spaces were not tombs. They were transformation chambers, thresholds between man and divinity. Modern acoustic studies revealed something even stranger. The mineral walls reflected sound in uncanny ways. A whisper uttered in one corner could echo with perfect clarity at the chamber's center. The placement of each block appeared tuned to create resonance, amplifying low chants into rolling waves of vibration. During rituals lit only by flickering torches, the effect must have been mesmerizing, as if the stones themselves spoke with the voices of the gods. Some wall fragments bore traces of extreme heat between 800 and 1,000 degrees Celsius, yet the surrounding rock showed no signs of fire. Researchers theorized that the builders may have heated and quenched the stone deliberately, fusing it into a glass-like finish. Others believe the burns were remnants of ancient ceremonies invoking solar energy, fire representing the divine essence sealed within the earth. Even more mysterious is the absence of any written record. No known text mentions these underground temples. Only one inscription was ever found, on the wall of the Soleb complex. It reads, "Those who descend must leave their names in the dark." Scholars interpret this as part of an initiation rite, a symbolic burial of the self. To enter these chambers was to surrender identity and pass beyond mortality. The hematite walls, in this sense, were not mere architecture. They were the boundary between life and eternity, between human memory and the silence of the divine. Recent ground-penetrating radar and seismic surveys have detected deep voids, over 30 meters below the surface, beneath sites such as Amara West. Yet exploration was halted when these areas were flooded by the creation of Lake Nasser during the Aswan Dam project. Much of this subterranean world now lies sealed underwater, hidden from both light and history. Many archaeologists believe that what we have uncovered is only the outer shell of something far greater. The lost lower levels of Nubia's temples may yet reveal an understanding of energy, magnetism, and matter that modern science has barely begun to rediscover. Some researchers have speculated, cautiously, that the weak magnetic fields in these chambers could have been harnessed for orientation, ritual synchronization, or even electrostatic effects. Whether scientific or spiritual, it is clear that the builders possessed a profound awareness of the Earth's forces. Today, as the sun sets over the Sudanese desert, the colossal statues of Abu Simbel still blaze in golden light. But far below, in the sealed darkness, the metallic walls of Soleb and Gebel Barkal remain, silent, magnetic, alive. They endure like the very skin of the earth, preserving the breath of a vanished world. Whether born from divine faith or forgotten science, these chambers remind us that ancient humanity built not merely to worship, but to speak to the cosmos. Their words were carved in stone, written in light, and forged in minerals that hum faintly even now, waiting for the day when we will finally listen and hear what the Nubians once knew, the story of knowledge fused with stone, of a spiritual science so profound that modern thought has only begun to glimpse its depth. Beneath the rolling hills of Italy's Lazio region, hidden under fields of wild thyme and olive trees, lies a city unlike any other, a city not for the living, but for the dead. The necropolis of Cerveteri, known in antiquity as Caere, stands as one of Europe's most extraordinary archaeological wonders, a vast labyrinth of tombs carved directly into volcanic rock nearly 3 millennia ago. It's a place where the boundary between life and death blurs, where architecture becomes ritual, and where every wall and passage seems to whisper of a civilization older than Rome itself, the mysterious Etruscans. To walk through Cerveteri is to walk through time. The city of the dead mirrors that of the living, complete with streets, intersections, and neighborhoods. The tombs, called tumuli, rise like ancient houses, arranged in orderly rows, as if the departed still lived below the earth in their eternal dwellings. What sets this necropolis apart is not merely its size or age, but the way it was made. The Etruscans did not build their tombs stone by stone. They carved them whole, sculpting directly into the soft volcanic tufa that forms the bedrock of the region. Each tomb, from humble single chambers to vast family monuments, was hollowed from a single block of earth. Ceilings arch gracefully, walls stand with geometric precision, and doorways align with uncanny balance. These were not random excavations, but deliberate symbolic constructions. Every pillar, beam, and chamber held meaning. The interiors mimic Etruscan homes, complete with carved beds, tables, rafters, and doors, all shaped from living rock. There are no bricks, no joints, no mortar, only the silent perfection of stone, transformed by human hands. Modern architects still marvel at the technical mastery behind these tombs. How did Bronze Age builders achieve such perfect symmetry and proportion with only bronze chisels and stone hammers? How did they measure straight lines and mirror angles in pitch darkness without written plans or tools of precision? The result suggests not only great skill, but a level of mathematical and aesthetic sophistication centuries ahead of its time. Among the hundreds of tombs in Cerveteri, none embodies Etruscan genius more completely than the Tomb of the Reliefs. Dating to the 4th century BCE, step inside and the world seems to awaken in stone. Every surface is alive with carved objects, shields, swords, vessels and tools, rendered in exquisite low relief. Walls bloom with color, faded reds, ochres and blues that once glowed like sunlight. The ceiling arches like a wooden roof, complete with carved beams, mimicking the living world above. But beneath this artistry lies a deeper truth. To the Etruscans, death was not an ending, but a continuation, a passage to another form of existence. The tomb was not a grave, but a home of eternity. The carved furniture and tools were not mere decoration. They symbolized comfort and continuity, ensuring the dead remained surrounded by the familiar. Stone became memory, and memory became immortality. What astonishes scholars even more is the flawless craftsmanship. The tufa rock, though relatively soft, demands absolute control. One wrong strike could collapse an entire wall or shatter a curve painstakingly shaped by hand. Yet after 26 centuries, many tombs remain smooth and perfectly symmetrical. No reinforcing beams, no mortar, no restoration, just the enduring strength of precision and design. In their mastery of stone, the Etruscans achieved something beyond engineering. They achieved harmony with the earth itself. The rock was not an obstacle, but a collaborator, shaped with respect and intuition. This art of rock-cut architecture prefigured later wonders such as Petra in Jordan and the temples of Nubia. Yet the Etruscans accomplished it centuries earlier, and with a serenity that feels almost otherworldly. Even more mysterious are the acoustics of some tombs. Their domed ceilings carry sound in strange, resonant ways. A single whisper expands through the chamber. Footsteps echo as though the stone itself were breathing. Some believe these acoustic designs were intentional, part of funerary rituals meant to bridge the worlds of the living and the dead, where voices spoken by priests might seem to awaken the spirits within. Standing inside one of these ancient houses of eternity, you feel it immediately. The stillness, the weight of centuries, the sense that the air itself remembers. The Etruscans built not to defy death, but to transform it into permanence, a conversation between humanity and the earth, carved in stone so that it would never fade. Researchers now believe that the Etruscans understood something profound, the power of shape and sound in their funerary rites. Their tombs were not simple resting places, but theaters for the soul, where priests may have sung or chanted to guide spirits into the afterlife. The very architecture seems designed for resonance, rounded domes, curved walls, and narrow corridors that turn whispers into echoes. Within these chambers, the Etruscans created not silence, but sacred acoustics, a soundscape meant to bridge the living and the dead. No surviving text explains how these structures were made. The Etruscan language, still only partly deciphered, offers little insight. Yet the evidence left in stone tells its own story. Around the necropolis, archaeologists have unearthed chisels, bronze picks and fragments of lamps, traces of manual labor carried out in darkness, thousands of hours of carving by firelight. Every mark bears witness to a devotion both spiritual and mathematical. Columns align in perfect rhythm. Chambers follow consistent geometric ratios. It is as though invisible principles, an oral geometry passed from master to apprentice, guided the hands that shaped the rock. Some scholars propose that the Etruscans relied on an oral engineering tradition, a body of practical knowledge never written down, but transmitted through generations of builders. Others suspect they possessed rudimentary surveying tools, perhaps simple instruments for measuring distance and angle that have since been lost. However they achieved it, their work represents a fusion of art, science, and faith, a kind of architectural alchemy in which belief was expressed through proportion and stone. The medium itself, volcanic tufa, was their silent collaborator. Soft enough to carve, yet strong enough to last for millennia, It gave the necropolis its unique texture. Over centuries, moss and lichen have crept across the surfaces, transforming grey rock into living green. In the half-light of dawn, the tombs seem to breathe. Doorways gape like mouths. Corridors wind into the dark like veins. The result is a haunting equilibrium, architecture merging with nature, life entwined with death. Visitors today can still step into these chambers, bending through narrow entrances into rooms where families were laid to rest generations apart. The silence is immense. On the walls, the tool marks remain visible, fine grooves etched by hands that ceased their labor more than 2,000 years ago. To touch them is to bridge time itself, to feel the persistence of human intention across eternity. Archaeologists believe that what has been uncovered at Cerveteri represents only a fraction of the necropolis. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed entire hidden districts below the surface, with tombs and tunnels yet to be explored. Local legends tell of farmers who, ploughing their fields, struck hollow stone and uncovered sealed doorways leading into airless chambers, their murals still vivid, untouched since antiquity. These stories, whether myth or memory, suggest that the Etruscans built not only for the dead, but also to protect their mysteries from the living. At its heart, Cerveteri is more than a cemetery. It is a philosophical statement in stone. To carve one's home from a single block of earth was to deny decay, to assert permanence in the face of oblivion. The Etruscans did not seek conquest like their Roman successors. They sought continuity. Their tombs were acts of defiance, architectural testaments proclaiming, "We were here and we remain." Every chisel mark carries that message. The necropolis is not a ruin. It is memory fossilized in form, crafted so precisely that even time itself has become its servant. While empires rose and fell, the city of the dead endured, silent, intact, patient beneath its mantle of earth. Today, the necropolises of Cerveteri and Tarquinia are honored as UNESCO World Heritage Sites, celebrated for their beauty and mystery. Yet even now, we grasp only fragments of what they meant to their makers. Why such devotion to precision and symmetry? Were these tombs reflections of earthly homes, or cosmic diagrams, each chamber representing a realm of the heavens? Without fully deciphering their language, the answers elude us. Perhaps that is as the Etruscans intended. Their civilization, advanced yet enigmatic, chose to speak through silence, to leave behind not words, but forms. As the sun sets over Cerveteri, golden light pours into the tomb entrances, illuminating carved beams and columns one last time before fading into shadow. In that fleeting glow, the Etruscan vision reveals itself. They did not build to escape death. They built to bridge it, carving eternity from the bones of the earth.